My name is Patricia Zugaby, and I'm the CEO of Holt Construction. Holt Construction is one of the country's leading builders, and we're especially recognized for our work in the aviation sector with a large portfolio in the Northeast as well as across the country. I'm very proud of our team and how we integrate small businesses into our projects. We have been working at Newark Liberty International Airport for over 30 years, and our offices at the airport are always open to you. Holt is very committed to diversity and including small and local businesses, especially MWBEs, local businesses, and veteran-owned businesses in our projects. Our work also supports local residents to help them build a career in construction. As many of you already know, this year we have launched a new program, Building Newark Airport Together. That features special sessions every Friday from noon to 1 p.m. These sessions provide you with important information about contract and career opportunities and will open the gate to building your business and your career with us. We are now in our third month of our program of Opportunity Fridays, and we continue to receive excellent reviews that our sessions are helpful and useful to many of the small businesses who attend. And that is our goal, to bring important information and new opportunities to MWBE and LBE businesses in the airport community.
Thank you, Patricia. I'm Alexandria Parati, and I'm so pleased to serve as your program host for our Opportunity Friday series. Opportunity Fridays are important sessions that will introduce you to what you need to know about working with Holt Construction, as well as the specific contract packages that are available for bidding on Newark's new Terminal A. We also want local residents to learn more about how they can work in the construction industry with Holt, as well as on other projects. As an organization, Holt Construction is truly committed to building Newark Airport together. Each of our Opportunity Friday sessions are devoted to specific topics and include an opportunity for live questions and answers. At the end of each information session, we review direct contract opportunities that you may be interested in bidding once you have pre-qualified with us. Good afternoon, and welcome to Estimating 101. Getting your estimate right is a key component of entering into a contract. Holt Construction's estimating team will be sharing the ins and outs of developing an estimate, regardless of the size of the job. Having a deep understanding of estimating will lead your firm to more successful projects. Now let's start today's session and have our panelists introduce themselves. Joe, do you want to start today?
Yes, how you doing? My name is Joseph Martinez. I am the pre-construction director here for Holt Construction.
Jason?
Good afternoon. My name is Jason McKay, and I'm the director of estimating for Holt Construction.
Taylor?
Hi, my name is Taylor Stuckey, and I'm an estimator with Holt Construction.
Great. So I know that our audience is really going to want to hear from you because there are so many questions regarding estimating and what they can do to better their estimates and questions. I know, Taylor, last time you went through Building Connected, that's an on-demand session that anybody can go back and look at, our Building Connected session. But let's start with the basics, right? So Joe, I'm going to start with you. What are some basic tips for estimating? Some best practices that you could offer our audience?
I think you and I once had a conversation similar to this a little while ago, and I think when we were going through it, it was as you're going through the drawings, make sure your quantity takeoffs are there and kind of build the job in your head, right? So it's not just, don't take the job as being one-dimensional and just a set of plans. Look at the plans. You know, if there are corridors or ceiling heights, you know, get yourself walking through the job. Walk from hallways to offices, or put yourself up on a ladder and look at a reflected ceiling plan from a different perspective. It kind of gets you a little insight as to what's going on the drawings.
Jason, for you, what do you see as best practices, because you are overseeing our whole estimating department? So boots on the ground, what do you see?
I say you got to understand the logistics of the job. By understanding the logistics of the job is where you figure your labor. That's what's going to separate you from other subcosts, other trades, subcontractors in your trade. It's going to be the labor. The material cost is pretty much the material cost. So how quickly and how efficiently you guys can build a job is how much you'll be competitive.
So schedule is always important in knowing how you're going to build it.
Exactly.
Now, Taylor, you are boots on the ground, one of our estimators. What do you give as a tip for someone in preparing an estimate?
I would say, in addition to what Jason and Joe said, you want to make sure that you're looking at if there's building rules and regulations that we've provided. You want to make sure you're looking at all of the requirements for the building specifically. That definitely can create issues if you don't account for those kind of rules. And making sure that you're looking at all of the specifications and notes in the drawings as well to make sure you're covering all of your scope.
Okay. Joe, since you're our director of pre-construction and you oversee our pre-construction, our estimating, and our purchasing, a technical question, can you explain cost estimating versus other estimating techniques?
Well, yeah, I mean, getting back to what Jason said just about a second ago is cost estimating is actually physical material cost, right? You know what those costs are per linear foot of drywall, per linear foot of stud, copper wiring, and then there is schematic estimating where you basically use metrics. You go back to past performances and see what those costs are per square foot. That normally carries us, I'd say, up until about a 30% CD set, and then you can start getting some true quantities of whether it be labor, material, and those estimates start to get refined a little bit more. But in the initial, it's past experience. What we've done before. We know we've built something very, very similar to this, and it was $70 a foot. All right, well, it looks the same. Maybe this one looks a little bit more difficult. Let's raise that to $80 a foot, for this particular exercise.
Historical data plays
Yes.
as well.
Yes, we use historical data all the time. In fact, Jason and I talk all the time about, what did that job cost us in this particular airport, or what did this job cost us in this office? What's the difference? Why is this job coming out with a different square foot number than the other one? And then we start looking for things and say, okay, here it is here. There's a huge structural steel element in this particular job that wasn't in the other job, and that's what's showing the deviation of cost.
And Jason, we don't want to name any specific products, but would you recommend for a smaller company to buy estimating software, or is it something that they can do with a simple program? I know there's a lot of different softwares out there, and we don't want to name any, but what would you suggest for a small business?
Well, there's some what I would suggest to help speed the process along are some of the programs where you can take off the drawings online or through the computer. It helps to speed the process up. But as far as the estimating software, as far as developing costs, I say that they should develop their own database for that. But getting to the point of pricing, there is some very good software on the takeoff of designs, takeoff of plans, where you can read them, highlight them, take off square footages, linear footages, and stuff like that. I think that helps a lot in being able to pump out a good exact estimate.
And Taylor, on your side, is there anything that you've seen that subcontractors leave out of an estimate, or maybe some common questions that they ask you as their estimator, some things that you can kind of put to bed today during the session for some people?
Often I'm finding a lot of it's the logistics of actually doing the job. So it's not the notes and the drawings, but more what's going to be required, such as like a lift for high ceilings. That often is something that people don't realize they're going to need until we're discussing it. Or if there's phasing, and maybe they didn't see the note that we provided them that said there's phasing, and any other, I'm trying to think if there's any other specifics, but it's really looking at not just what's on the drawings, but what's needed to build the job.
And Jason, what are some specific costs that everybody should include in their estimate, no matter what their trade is? Is there something, a line that everybody should have all this in, no matter what their field is?
After hour work, stoppages, phasing, weekend work, the schedule. So everyone should pay attention to the schedule. Because if we send something out saying, you know, the client wants this to be done off hours, that's what we're looking for, off hour costs, making sure you have the manpower for that. If you give us the wrong information, that can disqualify you from a bid. So it's very important to know the schedule that's being pushed by the client as well as us, your client.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing to that. It's very good, Jay. Is we're starting to notice now that insurance requirements are being flowed down, and sometimes a lot of your subcontractors don't have umbrella policies that we do. I mean, we have a huge umbrella policy, and some of these buildings and some of the airports and the Port Authority, you know, is asking for umbrella policies that just are a little bit outside of what they normally carry. So, you know, they can get riders to their policy that will probably extend their insurance, but once we go in with a number, and if we use that particular contractor's number, they're kind of on board with us, and it would really not be the right thing to do then and find out that there's an increase in cost due to the fact that they didn't catch the insurance requirement. We're finding it a lot right now, you know, that some of your smaller vendors, like a toilet accessory vendor, won't have a $10 million umbrella. There's no need for him to, but in order to be the vendor on that particular site, he would have to carry that.
Right, so building rules and regs and whole requirements, always important to know.
Yeah.
Now, Jason, when something comes out from our estimating department through Building Connected, when a RFP is sent out to subs, do we include all of the information that they need? Like if it's phased, if there's some building rules and regs, if any kind of, target dates when we're supposed to be done, do we send all that out in one package when we send it out, or do we filter that information as the estimate is built to the subs?
We will send it all the files will be uploaded and it will be part of one link. Now, as addendums and RFI answers come in, we will update those as it goes along. But in the beginning, if there's specs, we put them out. If there is separate drawings for structural or IT or interior design, we put them out. If there's a schedule that the client is looking for, we put that out also. Again, and we also send out messages when the file is updated. So if we get addendum number 1, the subcontractor will know when that comes out. So they should, as long as they're paying attention to their emails, they'll always get those that information so that it's up to date. So when their bid comes in, they have everything that we're looking for.
Taylor, when you're getting a proposal from a subcontractor, what do you like to see in that proposal? Do you like to see, labor material rates? Do you like to see detail? Do you like to see if they have equipment, schedules for delivery of that equipment, long lead items? What do you like to see when a sub gives you a proposal?
So I think having the scope broken out into either bullet points or numbering points that I can easily go through the scope, see what you've included, see if there's something missing, that's great. I also think making sure that any exclusions are very clear of what you don't have, because if you don't have it, we want to make sure there's some, it's covered somewhere else, or that we ask you to price it, again. Long lead items, any material costs that maybe you have a substitution that's similar but a little bit less expensive, so any alternates for materials, those are great to list there. Really just wanting to make sure we know what's in your price and what's not in your price is very important.
Great. Jason, let's talk a little bit about bid leveling. So I've heard a lot of our subcontractors have questions, why are we de-scoping? Why are we bid leveling? What does that mean? Why are we not just taking their numbers at face value? Can you give some insight for your department, why you guys ask the questions that you do, and what those questions are?
We ask the questions that we do because we are trying to avoid change orders later or possibly that subcontractor being hurt. What I mean by that is if we just take their proposal and they don't understand exactly what we're looking for and they take that contract on, that means they own that. So we would like to avoid them being hurt as well as us being hurt, because if it's on a job and we accept it from the client, we can't go back to them. So we have to make sure that everyone, including our field team, understands what the client is looking for, the complete scope, the complete timeline, the complete insurance requirements. We have to make sure all of those things are picked up by each sub before they're awarded. So we'd rather be safe than sorry.
So the same question for you, bid leveling, de-scope, how important is that for you? And are there certain things that, you look for when you're doing that?
Yeah, a lot of the bid leveling or the leveling sheets that we have are used when we do CM work, construction management work. Construction management work at risk. What we're trying to do is, as Jason was saying earlier, is just to make sure that the scope is there. A bid leveling sheet is very simple. If it's not in your price, and these are some of the things that we know or we want to make sure that the subcontractor has. It's a simple process. If it's in your price, it's a check mark. If it's not in your price, it's an add. Add the dollar value that we're telling you to put in to the price. It's there for a reason. If a subcontractor puts an NA or not included, that doesn't help us, because then we have to kind of throw an allowance into what we think that cost is going to be, so that you're level. That's the the definition of leveling is exactly that. We want to make sure that the scopes are the same and then the prices are the same, or the prices represent the scope. An NIC on a leveling sheet doesn't help us. It does not help us whatsoever. So some contractors still get a little upset and they don't understand why we're forcing issues, is because these are the things that we need in the job. So that's one of the reasons why we're so heavy on leveling. On a lump sum job, again, there was differentiation. We level just to make sure that we have the scope that we see. On a CM job, sometimes we add things into a scope to make sure that there are allowances that we want to make sure you carry. But we'll tell you up front. This way, it's a net zero across the board. There is no advantage of one contractor having it or the other, because we put the allowances in. But we just want to make sure that you're carrying all that stuff. So that's how it's important. That's how important leveling is for us.
Now, Taylor, for you, subcontractor gives you a proposal for a project, and they haven't heard from you. Maybe they're waiting. What do you suggest they do if they're waiting and they want to know where they sit on a proposal?
If they're curious, they've submitted their price and they're just wondering, all right, was I way off? Did I miss something? Absolutely can call the estimator on the job, say, hey, I just wanted to check in. How's my number looking? We're always happy to give you feedback. And, and if the number is extremely high, we're probably going to call you and let you know, hey, listen, we want to make sure you've got the right scope, because it seems like you're a little bit higher than the rest of the spread. And even after we've submitted the bid, checking in to say, hey, has this been awarded? Have you heard anything? Sometimes I may not have an update, but I'm happy to give you whatever information I have.
Yeah, if I can just add to that, that's a great point, Taylor, because one of the things is subs have to understand, or contractors have to understand, when we submit a price, sometimes we're asked, if you look at our RFP or the RFQ they put in, they're asking us to hold prices sometimes for 180 days or 120 days. That's a long time. Hopefully we flow that down to the contractor so they know that the price they give us, they have to hold to that amount of time also. But that's 3 months. And, I guess what happens is sometimes the overall price of us and our competitors is probably just a little bit too rich for the client. They're going back to the drawing board. There may be a rebid. So things happen. We're more than welcome to accept inquiries, whether to see where their pricing is. Sometimes they'll call and say, hey, by the way, I made a mistake, and you can take a couple of dollars off my price, and am I more competitive now? So.
Jason, to close out our session, because you oversee all of our estimators, what do you suggest a sub do? Just if they've been pre-qualified and they haven't received any any RFPs from Holt, and they're waiting and they haven't seen anything yet, what do you suggest they do?
Come on down. The squeaky wheel gets oiled. We have 6 locations. We're working in 6 states, several offices. Sometimes subcontractors, if they don't have a personal relationship with someone, fall through the cracks. It's not done purposely. It just happens. We're not a small shop anymore. We're national. We're a national company. So as long as they make their presence known, and what type of work they're looking for. Again, we are in aviation, we're in hospital work, we're at universities, we do commercial work, as well as restaurants. So if they give us what their bread and butter is, we can formalize where to put them, where they best fit. And I don't want to have anyone wasting their time for projects that they're not suitable to do. So get pre-qual, interact, send us a profile, what's best fit for you, and then from there we'll be able to include them on those bids.
Yeah.
Also, Joe, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I think Jason hit it on the nail on the head before. But one of the things is don't be afraid to come into an office. With the onset of the internet, and then unfortunately with COVID, everybody was forced to do a lot of stuff from home or remotely, or a Zoom call or a Teams call. I'd say, Jay, maybe you can help me. I'd say in the last 3 months, when some of these COVID mandates have started to be lifted, we're seeing a lot more subcontractors ask to come in. Hey, let's put a face to the voice. It helps. We just send them right back into estimating and say, here, go introduce yourself to these people. Meet a Taylor Stuckey. Meet the team from New York, meet the team in the Newark office, meet the team in the Pearl River office, or in our Houston and Dallas office. Meet them. And this way they know when they're going through a job, or, I was going to say Rolodex, but that's kind of, I'm really, really aging myself then, right? But going through a job and on some of the software that we use, Taylor will say, oh, I just met that guy the other day. Let me call him, so hopefully it gets back to the way it used to be. And everything just isn't a call or a very cold bid invitation, So again, it's a business that collaboration is very, very important. And I think the last 10 years that had been extracted, and hopefully it's coming back, that, we're starting to see a lot more people just want to talk and want to go to a site and come to a meeting, as opposed to just doing stuff, unfortunately via these kind of settings right here.
Great. I think it's wonderful that you guys are always and have been so accessible to our subcontractors, because you all know that Holt is only as strong as our subcontractors make us. So it's very important that you guys always have that open door policy. And I know that our subcontractors really appreciate that. So thank you guys for this great session today. And let's go through the current opportunities at Newark's new Terminal A.